folks, this is all the fruit, and high above the cat city of Kuching in Malaysian Borneo, there is a palace fit for a king, or a hilltop where there is nothing apart from this palace. Well, or it could be maybe some more modern style mosque or church or a temple fit for a god, but actually it's neither. It's the cat museum of the cat city of Kuching, which literally means cat. Well, to be honest, I'm more interested in the hill on which this museum stands, and I want to see what I can forage around here. It seems that even some of the very steep parts down there have been maintained permanently, which could be good for me because then I don't need to break through the dense vegetation. What interesting stuff do we have around the museum itself? Well, here, hidden almost inside the building, is a stand of spurges. Some spurges which look exactly like this are native to the island of Borneo, and by Dixie Rect they are being used as fish poison by the locals. Also here, those trees with the, right now they are still shrubs, but later they will become trees with those shiny elliptical leaves. Sometimes they have really conspicuous fruits which look a lot like Garcinia dulcis, and in fact they are a species of Garcinia. However, the fruits are not really edible, they are an ornamental species of Garcinia. A mangosteen relative, very popular as an ornamental around here. Yeah, I tried the fruits, and despite looking like Garcinia dulcis, like the yellow mangosteen, they taste disgusting. Here we have some species of jungle fig, with the fruits borne in clusters on the stem and on the thick branches. That means it's cauliflorous, it's stem flowering, so the flowers, the fig is basically, well, every fig is basically one inflorescence, and so here you have clusters of inflorescences. Inside every fig there are a lot of flowers, and then later, if you are lucky, the fig develops into some sort of edible fruit, but those are still green, so I will not go down there and try them. They will just taste, astringent and like nothing else. Here we have another species of fig with leaves very similar to Ficus benjamina, and actually there are fruits on it, and they are also quite ripish. Well, let's try this tiny fruit. Well, ripish is not the same as ripe. There is still white sap coming out. Sour and astringent. 90% of all figs will taste that boring, but we keep trying because from time to time we find some tasty one. The grass has been cut almost everywhere but how can I walk down there? It's a little bit steep. I want to go to the lower parts. There is a lake in the lower parts, some sort of bird park. I guess the cats have to eat. Somebody burning tires here. I guess it's good against the mosquitoes. Extreme caution. Okay, boss. I will exercise extreme caution. I want to go down there into the bird park. By the way, I'm not too concerned if I don't find too many fruits. Got a bunch of tampoi, most of which I already ate. A bunch of rambai, isao, an endemic local longan, also very tasty. Dragon beans, well, the only stuff that I foraged. Some Brazilian peanuts, very tasty. A bottle of water, and I also did have a coconut, but I drank this before I started filming. Also, we always talk a lot about food foraging, but remember, your first priority is water, your second one is shelter. I saw the gardeners drink from this faucet. Probably the water will not be good enough for me as a foreigner to drink it, but good enough to know I have water for washing. A young papaya plant. It's not a tree, it's basically a big herb with quite a soft stem. You might not find anything forageable on this papaya, but, well, Even the young flowers are edible, but most importantly the young leaves can be made into a spinach, which they like a lot around here. And if you have some really hard meat and you cook it together with papaya leaves, the enzyme papain in the leaves will pre-digest the meat for you and make it very tender. Lots of orchids growing on this tree. Beautiful flowers here. Look at those. And even huge orchid fruits. If you wonder whether orchid fruits are edible, well, vanilla is an orchid fruit. But all orchids are protected here, so we cannot just forage for orchids. Some wild pepper is growing dozens of meters up the trees. Here I can see it from close up. However, I don't know whether it's some of the tasty pepper species or some of the ones which humans don't use. I don't see any fruits or flowers on it. On some peppers you can use the leaves, but a lot of them are just disgusting. Over the sound of the pumps and generators, it's a little bit hard to hear, but a lot of birds are singing in this tree. Always follow not just the local people, like I found this faucet because I saw the gardeners, also follow the local wildlife. Look, there are squirrels in these trees. The locals like to eat those. And there are a lot of birds singing in this tree. Wherever you find a lot of animal sounds, you have a good biodiverse, food-rich place. Look at this fig. It's covered with many thousands of small figs. And since so many birds and squirrels like them, there's a good chance they're edible for humans. So the fig tastes absolutely boring. No sweetness at all. But there are lots of them. You could eat them out of hand. Or if you are cooking something, throw them inside, mash them up. They will add a lot of bulk to the food, maybe not too much, maybe not too many nutrients or too much taste. But you will fill your belly with something. Another fig species with yet unripe fruits. And here, this is some pepper. Is it the same one or a different one? Not sure. This is definitely not a natural jungle. It's been planted, but there are going to be a lot of natural species between the planted species. Also, the steep hill has been terraced. Maybe down there is a little bit more diversity. If we are lucky, they have also planted a couple fruit trees somewhere. Let's see. Another one of those clustered cauliflowerous figs, but the fruits are not ripe. Unripe figs, not so good for eating. Some more papaya plants here. This first one has a lot of unripe fruits. Here they use a lot of those unripe fruits as a vegetable for cooking or for salads. Also again, you can use the leaves and flowers. Over there, at least two more papayas. Same thing, unripe fruits on them. Unripe fruits are definitely not as good as ripe papaya fruits, which will give you a lot of easily available sugars. But they are edible. Yeah, and even if you don't have fruits, just cook the leaves and you'll get some nice nutritious spinach. More papayas down there. I guess they planted the whole row of them, and those are the survivors. Scorpion climb. Scorpions are edible, just as the Thai people. But I would like to avoid meeting one. I did not mean I would like to avoid meeting Thai people. I mean I would like to avoid meeting scorpions. There is a bird, like some sort of smallish heron over there. But firstly, I have no gun. And secondly, I'm a vegetarian. So, no baked heron for me. I forgot the name of this fig species, but its fruits are actually quite tasty. It's a very common invasive. I don't know if it's even native to parts of Borneo, but it is growing everywhere in disturbed areas. Here are the fruits. However, those are not ripe enough. They must be reddish brownish to be ripe. But I guess that the birds are getting them before me. Pity. Quite a good fruit to forage. I'm almost at the bottom of the hill. I must say, this area is far less rich in fruits than the downtown part of Kuching, where there are also some quite extensive forests on little hills. But those forests in downtown Kuching, a lot of them are former gardens and fruit forests, so there is a lot more fruit there. However, this here was probably planted from the beginning as a park, so not really very diverse. But let's see, to the right there should be the so-called bird park with the lake. Maybe we'll find more stuff there. Lots of small black fruits on the ground. What are those? Kind of softish with the seed inside. Not the fig, because they have one hard seed coming from one of those trees. As long as I'm not sure what they are, I'm not gonna touch them. Yes, I know I did touch them. I mean, I'm not gonna eat them. Across the street, a banana patch here. And here, also across the street, a bunch of overgrown bananas, maybe wild ones. This does not look like a bird park at all. Those are ramps for motorbikes. Interesting. Huh. And where is the lake? Crap! I got into a swamp. A very wet swamp. There is even Salvinia natans, a water fern. Well, no, this is not natans. This is some tropical species. Oh my god. If I think of all the parasites and diseases that live in water, especially their urban centers. Problem is that in the tropics you have no winter, which kills most of the parasites or diseases. For example, the killer worm in temperate areas survives only in mines, so miners used to have it. Because at some time they got some miners from the colonies who were infected and they brought it into European and American mines. But here in the tropics, it can grow in any, can live in any water source, and you can get it. By the way, here, kangaroo grape, and it has fruits. The kangaroo grape is really a species in the Vitaceae, so it's a true grapevine with true grapes on it. Those are the unripe ones. The locals use the unripe ones to make curries and sambal sour. Very sour. They can only taste the oxalate needles. The ripe ones, like those here, they have even more oxalate. An interesting fruit, but be very careful with it. You don't need a mouthful of tiny glass needles in a survival situation. Yeah, a lot of stuff that you can eat in a normal situation, like I eat it now, and then I can eat some decent food afterwards and be okay. But if you eat it in a survival situation, it will make your situation even more dire. Let's see. Fish. The locals fish in the smallest water sources. I bet locals do fish here, and I bet they get stuff that's edible out of here. Oh yeah, bunch of coconut trees ahead. Are those still in the public park? Yeah, looks like those are still totally in the public park. Looks like they're gonna eat today. Was afraid they had a public garden, but nope, they are here in the park. So, let's see. If I find no coconuts, I could cut out the heart of palm. Of course, I wouldn't do this. I'm not gonna destroy park trees. But let's see if there are any coconuts. So many coconut palms. Here is one, which somebody opened. Two more. Oh yeah, of course the fruits are only on the highest palm. Nothing on any of the other trees. I guess the way those spread might be they fell from those big palm trees near the private garden here. Look at this nice, more or less clean little river. Bet it's full of fish. Okay, so coconuts. How am I gonna get the cocoa nuts from this tree? Too much trouble. I'm too lazy. Also, they look kind of smallish. It might be that they're still too sour and not really worth the trouble. Well, on the one hand, those coconuts and bananas here are too closely associated with the house in order to forage them. On the other hand, this is a bar/cafe, so if you have money, you can go forage inside. It's not that I don't have money, but I want to do some real foraging here. One white heron flew away. Another white heron is so far there. Oh god. Again, soft and swampy ground. Oh. Careful with this. Swamp down there too. But nothing really edible. Amazing. This was planted as a park without fruits. If they inherited part of it from old private garden, they would have inherited a couple old fruit trees. And if they inherited some jungle, they would have inherited a couple wild artocarpus and stuff. But this was planted as a park, more or less naked ground. Lots of foreign acacias and stuff. Nothing that's edible, and also it seems like it's being maintained on a very large area, cutting the grass regularly. But like so many other parks in Malaysia or other surrounding countries, it's not really being used by the people. Cluster of bananas, maybe a wild species, maybe something somebody planted a long time ago, but no fruits on it. Also, in the background, Spatodea campanulata, the African tulip tree. Very important survival plant, because once it rains and the water falls to the ground, those puddles are infected with lots of stuff which you don't want to ingest. But inside the flowers of this tree, inside each one, there are a couple sips of water which will stay clean as long as no insects drown in it. So very important plant for water foraging. Another very important plant for water foraging are the bananas. You can wring out the pseudostem, or you can dug some holes in the pseudostem and in the base and collect a little bit astringent water that tastes like bananas, but is definitely healthier than swamp or puddle water. See those pretty big shiny leaves? At first I thought it's a mango species, but now I think it's Encala, also called the Borneo avocado. It has smallish pink fruits, which are quite fatty, that's why they are called Borneo avocado. You have to heat them, not cook them, but heat them before you eat them. Heat them to a lower degree. Yes, this is quite positive. Those are Encala trees, but no fruits. The markets are full with them right now, so they're in season in some parts, but not those trees. An oil palm, another tasty, very oily fruit. Nobody eats it out of hand, I don't know why. Some of them are quite tasty, and even if you find a non-tasty one, the survival situation, a couple kilograms of nice oily fruits can make the difference between life and death. Okay, those are still a little bit young. You see a very young tree, but big bunches of fruits on it. Still quite young, but already attacked by the squirrels. Yeah, in a survival situation I would break them off with a parang or with a rock or even with a heavy boot. Even if they are not ripe, there is still enough edible stuff in the fruits, and you can also eat the seeds. As you can see here, the squirrel has basically destroyed the fruits to get at the seeds. Quite an invasive plant, yeah, it spreads on its own, but quite valuable in a survival situation. Oh, also Europeans are hating a lot on those oil palms, but really folks, all your rapeseed plantations in Europe and all your sunflower plantations in Europe and all those other annual things you have to plow and fertilize every year, and which yield just a fraction of what a Borneo oil palm plantation will yield per square kilometer. Imagine those people here that not have the oil palm but had to plant similar oil plants to the ones you plant. That would be much more destructive than planting oil palms. So not the fact that they are planting oil palms is the problem. The problem is the fact that native jungles are being destroyed. But the jungles have already been destroyed on 90% of Borneo, so now 90% of Borneo are fair game for planting oil palm plantations here. We have billions of Asians, and all those billions of Asians, they need a lot of oil. Who's going to provide it to them? You? You're even importing palm oil from Southeast Asia, but at the same time complaining that they are planting oil palm. What should they plant instead? This is the most efficient way to get oil. Singapore rhododendron, also a very important survival plant. Here, you can eat the flowers, you can eat the fruits. And also, even more important than the food aspect is, all the parts are anti-inflammatory, especially the roots. But if you have toothache or something, even chewing on the branches will help you a lot. Imagine you're in a survival situation and get some horrible toothache or some other infection. This stuff is very anti-inflammatory. Keep that in mind, folks. The beautiful Singapore rhododendron, very important survival plant in tropical and subtropical Asia. Here we have again this invasive fig. This time a version with quite big fruits. Look, pretty much the size of cherries. Those are still not ripe. No, not tasty yet and still astringent. Look at that, some have fallen to the ground. This is quite a nice size for a fruit which is abundant and edible. There is a slug on it. Slugs have a lot of dangerous parasites. Stay away from slugs. Here a lot more of those figs, but no ripe fruit. They should be rusty to brown in color and soft. Now, which way should I go? This path here on the dam continues this way. There is a bridge. I can cross over to the hill. However, the main dirt road continues this way into the swamp, which might be a lot more fruit rich. Yeah, those decisions you have to make them all the time in a foraging or survival situation. Let's go to the swamp. Somehow I think that this is gonna be a lot more rich in food. Here, for example, pandanus. You can eat the buds, and if you have fruits, even some of the fruits are edible. A bunch of old plywood in a survival situation. This could help you make baskets or the roof of a shelter. One man's trash is another man's survival, especially in an area without big leaves. Even those old rotten plywood sheets will be very useful. Glad that we are in an area with big leaves and don't need to use rotten plywood here. This is a tiny specimen of giant taro. The leaves are the size of umbrellas. Definitely good enough to make a roof. However, if you find a really huge specimen, the leaves are going to be the size of small cars. Basically, you need one for a small shelter. Avoid getting your feet wet. If you can avoid getting your feet wet, as I said, you don't know what parasites and diseases are in this water. And also, if your feet get wet, first you will slip easier, and then also you can get blisters more easily. So keep your feet dry, folks. They will carry you everywhere. Another plant with huge leaves is the banana. I've used those as umbrellas, and you can use them to very quickly make a shelter. Also, as I said, you can get water from the pseudostem and from the corm. You can eat the pseudostem, the corm, the flowers, the young leaf sheets, the young leaves. Oh, and it's a banana. You can eat the fruits, even the fruits of most wild banana species. Now you can compare here those huge 3-meter long leaves. Do you want to make a shelter of those? Or do you want to use the umbrella-sized reishi leaves here. It's not giant taro, I think it's some other species, but still huge leaves. And probably the corm, the stem, is edible. Some other popular local vegetables are those ferns. This one is pretty far developed, so you would use only a small part from the tip. From this one you can use a little bit more. If you find even younger ones, you can use a larger part, like from those here. You have to cook them quickly. Right now in the hot sun, within a few hours they'll get bitter. I think that this fern with the shinier leaves is also used as a vegetable, but this is one of the standard staple vegetables around here because it grows everywhere. Also more kangaroo grapes up there. Oh, and also here, yeah, Pipturus argentatus. This is the white nettle tree. And no, it will not sting you. It's a relative of the nettle with edible fruits. They're tasteless, but they are plentiful. Tasteless, plentiful fruits are better than no fruits at all. Some cucurbitaceae or gourd family vines. This could be a bitter gourd. Too bitter for Westerners, but for the locals it's a popular vegetable. However, this is most probably some of the tiny wilder varieties of the bitter gourd. We'll know if you manage to find the fruits. Always use high vintage points like this elevated road to scout the area for resources. I only see those cucurbitaceae vines and nettle tree here as resources nearby, and the area is so difficult to traverse that I shouldn't leave the road if I don't want to explore the overgrown areas, or if I don't suspect some very interesting resource in there, like if I would see some durians or other big fruits on those trees. For now I'm staying here. This is an elevated road through the swamps. This is a great resource. It's much easier to walk here than to walk through the swamps. The only problem is the sun here on the equator is incredibly strong. Always be careful with the sun here, folks. Even right now, you might think the sky is overcast, but still, the sun is burning me like crazy. But I want to know what this cucurbitaceae is. Any fruits? Lots of vines, most of them cucurbitaceae vines. But I don't see... Oh yes, here it is. Here is the fruit. It is the bitter gourd. And it is up, and it is falling to the ground. Here it is. It is the bitter gourd, and it is a small original variety or the wild species or something. Here is one more. Most of those are so bitter that even the locals are using them more as a medicine. Actually, no. It's sweet. The seeds might be poisonous, but the red arrows around the seeds are sweet. So, quite a good thing for some quick energy. However, be careful. Cucurbitaceae have a lot of different toxins. So beautiful flowers on this other vine. What is this? Please comment if you know. Some costus. This is being called some type of ginger, but it's not even in the same family. Oops, it's in a different family. However, the tasty flowers are edible. This is unopened yet. This one is really tough. It's supposed to be sour and tender and super tasty. Interesting. The inner scales are tasteless and the outer ones are tough. Should wait till it flowers. Also trees. But no big conspicuous fruits. This is This is a much more meager foraging than in the hills at Kuching city center, folks. Back there you have a lot of big fruits, big artocarpus fruits, big mango fruits, big tampoi, and what was the other one? Santol fruits. What am I doing here? I should go to the other side of the river and forage there. But now I'm here, and you have to learn how to survive even in meager areas. If you cannot forage a lot of stuff, just learn to conserve water and energy. Here, thickberry, lantana camara, the fruits, and the whole plant are edible, but no fruits right now. You wouldn't believe it, but those giant things here are still quite small for giant taro. The leaves can get much bigger, twice the size of those. Those are over a meter, big enough for everybody's umbrella, but they can get much bigger. Don't even think this is giant taro. It's definitely Zamareishi. Here is the inflorescence. Just got my bearings. No, I didn't climb a tree. I use Google Maps. Pretty far away from the bird park. I'm on the other side of the cat museum. And this road seems to continue for 1 more kilometer and then end in nothing, in a dead end in the swamps. However, I'm on this road now, so I want to explore it. More Encala trees. At least I think they're Encala trees. They look like Encala trees, but there is not a single Borneo avocado on them. Wonder if there is some tree that looks a lot like the Encala trees without yielding an avocado. Also again, bananas. Those look a lot like banana cultivars, but as long as I don't find fruits to forage, I cannot confirm this. Also, this seems to be the house to which the trail goes. Oh, look at this. What have we got here? This is a close relative of the passion fruit. This is the sister genus of Passiflora. I forgot the name. Okay. Dropped my phone. Is this really the sister? Yeah. This is the sister genus of Passiflora. Unfortunately, it's not edible, but it's supposed to be good for bald people to get their hair back.